Welcome. My name is Phil Stanch, and this is Speak the Grift, a podcast that examines theft, fraud, and embezzlement that happens at nonprofits. This first part of this first episode of the podcast begins by explaining our focus, the nonprofit that is organized to be exempt from taxation. After that, I'll walk us through some common financial transactions, and then I'll tie them into a financial transaction where you donate to a nonprofit. Under IRS guidelines, donations to a nonprofit are tax deductible. Requirements, briefly stated, are that the nonprofit is exclusively for religious, charitable, scientific, public safety, literary, educational, prevention of cruelty to children or animals, and or develop national or international sports. Including that, in the federal requirements, there are state laws that for a nonprofit require that a nonprofit be run by a board of directors. But why? Because human history is full of examples of the charity scam. By having multiple members on a board of directors, the risk of the charitable nonprofit becoming someone's personal piggy bank is lowered. However, that risk is not eliminated. Let's step back a moment. You spend your money at the grocery store. Do you care if there is embezzlement there, that the cashier is helping themselves to the till? Probably not. However, you would care if you bought groceries and the bag person put them in your cart, but quickly turned and returned everything back to the grocery store shelves. A theft had occurred, no doubt. Let's say at that same grocery store, the Girl Scouts has a table outside the front of the grocery store. The Scouts and their parents tell you that they have run out of the cookies, but if you order now, you can pick them up tomorrow. You give them the $30 cash and they tell you come back tomorrow with the receipt they gave you to pick up your order. The next day you show up and no Girl Scouts, no table. You walk inside and talk to the manager, and they inform you that those were not really Girl Scouts, but a family of thieves that even fooled the managers of the store. The managers apologize and tell you they're looking into it. So those two examples involve retail situations and tangible items. What if you give to a nonprofit charity? Sometimes you get a $10 t-shirt for $60. Sometimes you just donate $50. Do you care what happens after that? It's not unusual for small and mid donors to give it no further thought. You are a stakeholder, however, your stake is small. Now let's say you're a larger stakeholder. The business you own is approached by a nonprofit here in the city of Hondo, called the Friends of the Hondo Library. They say the funds that they are raising will be used in conjunction with the bond funds that will build a new library in town. You'll get a plaque permanently installed inside the library. The more you give, the bigger the plaque. So you settle on a $5,000 donation to this nonprofit. These fundraising people, Victoria and Francis, are well respected and connected in the community. They know everyone, and everyone loves them and would never suspect them to be the dirty thieves they are. Very charismatic and skilled at fundraising, they report they have raised over $300,000. Everyone is so pleased that the community plans a ceremony in which the board of the nonprofit and all the community leaders are to gather in town square and pose with a large cardboard check. The check, which Frances says she will bring along with the actual check, is to be handed over to the mayor of Hondo. Bands will play, dogs will bark happily, babies will not cry, and joy will overtake the land. The day of the ceremony comes. The minutes click by one as everyone waits for Frances and her checks, one big and fake and one small and real. Calls are made to Frances's cell phone and home phone, but no one answers. After an hour, the confused group consisting of the mayor, city council, chamber of commerce, and other luminaries decide to cancel the event. Fast forward some amount of time. Francis has claimed amnesia the day of the check. Seriously, the amnesia was caused by a car crash that happened on the way to the check ceremony. This claim was backed by her brother, Glenn, a Medina County Justice of the Peace. She claims a total memory loss. Victoria files a complaint with the city of Hondo police to report the missing funds. She still becomes a criminal defendant in the case. It's kind of like a big shock to me. At this point, I don't really know anything, she said, declining further comment. Fast forward even further in time, and Francis, also claiming ignorance to it all, enters a plea deal of no contest to 2 felonies and repays $60,000 and agrees to repay another $100,000 in restitution. Victoria receives a similar plea deal. The media say nothing about jail time. Let's go back to you. Remember, you're the business owner who loves libraries and gave $5,000 but is not getting any plaque installed. How much do you care? One of the more obvious sentences you can ever read was that the fundraising by this nonprofit was difficult after this. Quote, the library group has had limited success raising replacement funds, despite instituting new fiscal controls to assure the safekeeping of donations, said Rose, its current secretary and treasurer. The Friends of Hondo Library had existed since 2002, but stopped operations in 2017. The time frame of their fundraising surge was from 2012 to 2016. The plea deals occurred in 2018. I mentioned before they had a board of directors. What were the other members of the board doing? Were there previous embezzlements by these two? Or did other board members participate? All of this will go with Francis and Victoria to their graves. Now, why even have a board if you can't stop the controlling members of the board from embezzling funds? If you're on a board of directors and cannot see bank records, are you just filling an empty chair so the core group can steal at will and use you as cover? Yes, that's probably what is happening and will continue to happen. I am sure fellow board members came and went often during Francis's and Victoria's reign at the Friends of the Hondo Library. Rumors were probably all around them, but there was always another mark, another business to hit up for donations. Hondo is not a fast-growing community, so it may have been hard for Francis and Victoria to find places where the rumors didn't follow them. But maybe the major thieving didn't start until the excitement that surrounded the announcement that Hondo was going to build themselves a new library. Then the donations started to flow in like never before. Well, that's the story of the Friends of Hondo Library. If you want to be a friend of this podcast, I'm sure you can do that by clicking the like and subscribe button. That will provide me with some feedback on this podcast. You can leave a comment if I decide to have those available to you. You can suggest new stories that you may have found. This has been Speak the Grift, a podcast that examines theft, fraud, and embezzlement that happens at nonprofits. Thank you and good day.